Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily. Coming up, the Thunder dominate the Grizz again. We got Shakeia Taylor on the Pacers' big win and John Krawczynski on the Wolves' loss to the Lakers and how they bounce back. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Zena.
Good morning, Dave.
Just wait again.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Another fun night of playoff action. And I do believe we officially have the first dominant 2-0 series lead since the Grizzlies have lost by a combined 70 points in their two games against the Thunder. The Thunder win last night, 118-99. And Zena, there's not a lot that I have to say that I haven't already said about the Grizzlies over the last couple of weeks. Yeah. Just they're not really very good right now. They're not very connected. Jaren Jackson you don't really feel him in a lot of games. Zach Edey basically can't play. I sound like a broken record. You got any thoughts on the Thunder win over the Grizzlies?
Yeah, I think the same could be said kind of about Oklahoma City, right? Like there's not much more new to say about this team. They've been dominant all season. They've been playing as a team all season. But I think even watching this game and how they closed it out, because let's give credit where credit's due. Memphis did play better. But if you listen to Jalen Williams in his post-game interview, he said that they expected, as in the Thunder expected the Grizzlies to come back. They were a good team. First game is after a 36-hour stint. So they knew that they were going to have a better shot at that second game. And the way that they closed it out in game 2, OKC did not give Memphis any slack. They played all the way to the end. Chet Holmgren, Shakeia, they were all in the game to the final buzzer. And it just shows you just how hungry this team is. And I think that that's a stat. That's an analytical aspect that you can't quantify, is just how much they want it. And so if there's anything to add on top of OKC and what you've already seen all season, they're just on a different level of connected and hungry.
Yeah, Alex Caruso had a great game off the bench for them. So that's, again, it's another tool in their toolbox that's, a knife in their knife case that's sharp, right? Like Alex Caruso needed this big game, in my opinion. Again, Thunder are a machine. So we're probably not going to learn too much about the Thunder for the rest of this series. But there were other games last night, so we should hit those. And we're going to go deep on both of these other games. Yeah. We have Shakeia Taylor, who is covering the Pacers during the playoffs, and she was there last night for their big win over the Bucks. They go up 2-0. What'd you think about the Pacers' performance in that game?
Unreal defense coming out of also really fast offense. Yeah. I mean, they just looked super young, athletic, more awake. They felt as if they had magnets in their hands to the ball. They just felt like everything was easily coming to them, as opposed to the Bucks looked like they were moving through molasses. Like it was just like slow basketball on both ends. I thought there was opportunities for the Bucks to kind of hide the fact that Dame Lillard came back last night. And yes, even though he was trying to get things going early in the game, it was clear that he'd been out for a month. Yeah. And there was more that I would have expected for the Milwaukee Bucks to try and pre-switch, kind of hide him off of defenders. But the Bucks brutalized him and kept going after him. And there was a lot there. We're going to dig into it with Shakeia, but the Pacers just looked very poised and very ready, and like they were building off the energy in their building.
Yeah, Dame basically a turnstile on defense, and the Pacers, I mean, like you said, they targeted him. Tyrese Haliburton was just running past him. Just like one dribble and he's past. Yeah, it did not look great.
Was so deceptive with the hezzies, the slightest hezzies in transition and just blowing past people. Yeah, it was, the perimeter defense was non-existent for the Bucks.
Yeah, and then we saw the Lakers bounce back against the Wolves. I mentioned after the first game, LeBron needed to be felt more, and I thought that his presence was felt not only on the rebounds and he scored, but defensively. Like he really brought it quite a bit. The whole team did. That first quarter, they came out. They really they hit the Wolves in the face. The Wolves never recovered.
The problem is that it happened in the first quarter, happened in the second quarter. Third and fourth, they were like, We had too much fun with that. It was working too well. Let's go completely the opposite way. Let's make sure that JJ Redick has that heart attack that he is prepped and poised to have, because we keep trying to put him in these stressful situations. I mean, it was surreal how much the Lakers completely went away from their game plan just to attack Rudy Gobert. It was ISOs on ISOs on ISOs. Let's do some mixtape on Rudy Gobert. But what they realized is that they were overdoing it. They did too much to where none of their other offense was available to them. No more pick and rolls, no more sets, no more screens, no more pin downs. Like nothing was happening other than Luka basically just trying to take Rudy. And that's how Minnesota slowly found their way back into the game. But ultimately, Lakers pulled it out.
And before we get out of here and go to Shakeia, our BetMGM pick of the day. Got to ask you, Zena, are the Thunder going to sweep?
Yeah.
What about the Pacers, though? That's the game. That's what you got to pick.
That's interesting. I do feel like we saw Bobby Portis go for like 28 tonight off the bench. Like he is a key factor. If Kyle Kuzma can also get into the mix, I think they could win one.
All right.
They could win
and
one.
Also, let's not forget Damian Lillard needs to perform. Guys, stick around after the break. Shakeia Taylor to talk Pacers. The Pacers followed up their game one dominant performance with a closer game in game two, but another win. Here to talk about it, the Athletic Shakeia Taylor. She's embedded with the Pacers, been following them the last few weeks. They've been the hottest team this year, maybe in basketball. I mean, when you consider just how good they've been since January. And I mean, frankly, I got to start with their best player, or at least their star, Tyrese Haliburton. The game he had 21 points, 12 assists, 5 rebounds. Looked like he was dancing around out there. I guess I should ask you, is he the most overrated player in the NBA?
He doesn't think so, and neither do his teammates. Actually, after the game, Coach Rick Carlisle was asked about the Athletics player poll. And in addition to, being very fiery about it, he called it shameful, actually. He demanded to see the faces of the players who said that about his star. Wow. It was a very impassioned response from a coach who clearly backs his guy. Tyrese also addressed the overrated votes by saying he's just going to be himself. He said he doesn't give, I'll say, a damn about what anyone thinks of him. And, he understands that, people may not like what he's doing or who he is, but he's going to continue to be himself. And Pascal Siakam came in and supported that. He said he backs, everyone backed their guy here. So if he's overrated, people in Indiana do not agree.
That's one of the things that you saw all throughout the series so far, is just how much each team has each player's backs. I mean, between Tyrese Haliburton talking some game to Dame while he was in street clothes, and now that translating into game two, and you're starting to see the physicality, Gary Trent Jr., Pascal Siakam, Bobby Portis. I mean, it just kept starting to build. Talk a little bit about the passion in between the two teams and the tension that's been showing up throughout these two games.
Tyrese Haliburton continues to reiterate that they don't like each other. He said it before this series began. He said it tonight after the game. They don't like each other. There's probably a little bit of like game respects game, of course, but they don't like each other. And it was obvious all the way down both benches. I would say in game one, but especially tonight, there was a dust up on the court. The players were hyping up the crowd who were really in support of the beef. I actually turned to someone sitting by me and I was like, hey, this crowd wants the smoke. Like they were chanting, Bobby sucks. Even if Bobby Portis wasn't touching the ball.
It's a nice change. It's a real rivalry, right? Like there's real juice there. I mean, and the whole thing, like you mentioned, Zena, the back and forth in game one when Dame was there on the bench and he's like, oh, I'm coming back. I'm going to get you. And Dame came back and, frankly, he got. I mean, I think the Pacers, not only did they, attack him when he was on defense, but they only held him to 14 points, 2 of 8 from 3. I want to hit Andrew Nembhard and the defense that he played. The two-way game he had, 17 points, 6 assists, hit big shots down the stretch. I mean, this team it just seems like it has a lot of guys who are built for the playoffs, and Nembhard is number one on my list to me.
After practice on Monday, I wrote how this team isn't a team that relies on one player to sort of be the star, to carry the team, right? Obviously, Haliburton is the guy, but they have a balanced scoring attack. They support each other. There is a real effort from everyone on the team to go out there and, shut things down. Nembhard, he had a slump going into the end of the regular season, and the postseason, he got activated, right? He's playing well on both sides of the court. He's putting the clamps on Damian Lillard, who people expected to come out tonight and light it up. There was a real expectation, because with Lillard on the court, he kind of opens up Milwaukee's offense. He changes their ability to have spacing on the court, and none of that happened. In fact, I don't know if you guys even noticed, he only had 11 points well into the second half of the game.
Yeah.
His 3-pointer very late in the game came when Milwaukee was trying to fight their way back. But by then the Pacers were like, it's too late.
Yeah. He was out of it. He was taken out of it.
I was thinking, we were texting each other, Dave, and I was like, how did he find the legs to be able to put that shot up? But you're right. I thought in the first half that Dame Lillard was holding his own, considering he hadn't played since March 18th.
Yeah.
And he's coming back into it. He played 37 minutes last night against the Indiana Pacers, but it was Nembhard, and it was this balanced scoring attack that you're talking about. So now we're looking at the Bucks that looked old. What's going to be the answer as they go back home to try and get some sort of juice out of their offense, get Kyle Kuzma going, who picked things up tonight, against the Pacers last night, get Bobby Portis going again? What's going to be the answer for the Bucks?
They're going to have to slow Indiana down. Indiana's plan of attack from the beginning has been, we are young and we are fast and we're just going to fly around the court. And that's exactly what they've been doing. They've been getting up and down the court really fast, and it makes Milwaukee look tired, which is absolutely Rick Carlisle and his team's game plan. Tire them out. Tyrese Haliburton talked about the wear down effect. They are fully aware that that is the way to get the Bucks to show weakness. They know there's no really stopping someone like Giannis. But what you do is, if you slow everyone else down, or I should say keep them, sped up and keep them from scoring well, that's going to be the plan. So I guess Milwaukee has to figure out, how do we slow this team down, but also how do we keep because you got 6 guys you have to keep out of double figures, right?
Right.
Indiana has consistently had 6 guys in double figures this series. So I don't really know how you get 6 people, to all have a bad night at once, but that's got to be the goal.
Well, what about with the Pacers? And what they did defensively, number one, they picked up Dame early. So they were bothering him. Dead legs, he sat a month. They were trying to wear him down. I think they did a pretty good job of that. They also, every single time Giannis touches the ball, you talked about their passion, right? Their energy is just palpable. Zena, we've been talking about how old the Bucks look. And when they were throwing 2 and 3 athletes at Giannis, look, Giannis still is going to be Giannis, right? He's Hercules, 34 points, right? You can't stop him even in the paint. But you could see that by the end of the game, they wore him down. And then the last possession where they really clinched the deal defensively, 3 guys attacking Giannis. They're just not really worried about anybody else. Do you think that can the Bucks score enough outside? Let's say Dame has a great game. Giannis has a great game. Can the other guys pick it up enough to get over, one win in this series? Is it going to be a 5-game series?
In the beginning, I really was like, okay, this is going to be, this is going to go 6 or 7. They're going to stretch this out. Giannis is going to want to fight because he didn't play, last year's playoffs. This is going to be a huge deal. But after tonight, I don't know that 6 or 7 is going to be the number of games in this series. If the Pacers continue to come out and just attack them and send a crowd the way they've been doing, right? Like, they know all they have to do is send 2 and 3, and guys are switching off and making sure that Giannis, even though he's going to score, he's got to fight for it, right? He's got to put his shoulder down, and he's having to dig into multiple guys just to even get the shots he's getting. So defensively, Indiana has been, from everything I've heard in the time I've been here and been around the team, they're sticking to the plan, and they haven't kept it a secret. As far as, Lillard goes, Doc Rivers said pregame he didn't even know what to expect from Lillard in, the Tuesday night game. So I'm assuming, because Lillard really didn't have a ton of time to get ready for this game, that on Friday we'll see a completely different performance from him, because he'll have had more time to, get his legs and get in some practice time. And, tonight will probably be a big recovery night for him, considering, what he just experienced with the diagnosis.
Yeah, I'm sure Eric Name will write something to the effect that Damian Lillard and Giannis should run some pick and roll, right? Try to figure that out. Seems simple. Shakeia Taylor, go and read her at The Athletic. Go and read the story about the passion of the Pacers. Stick around, guys. After the break, we'll have John Krawczynski after the Lakers and Timberwolves. After a pretty dominant performance in Game 1, the Wolves did not get the outcome that they expected or wanted in Game 2, because the Lakers came out early, hit them in the mouth, and the Wolves never recovered. There for us covering it, John Krawczynski. John, you've obviously covered this team for years, and this team has had an odd year, but I've never seen them get knocked in the mouth and not recover in a game. That was odd. I've seen them be down by, double digits early, but usually they fight back a little bit more than this one.
Yeah, I mean, they did get it down to 9 in the fourth. And so I actually think after that first quarter, which was a total letdown, I think, on their part and very disappointing, then they hold the Lakers to 24, 23, and 13 points. They just couldn't make enough shots to get back into the game and really to get it within, striking distance. But I think the major takeaway, Dave, is that this is a team that has struggled this year with slow starts sometimes, and they knew that the Lakers were going to throw everything they had at them, and they just didn't seem ready to meet the moment early on. You saw LeBron, you saw Luka, you saw just an increased physicality, an increased effort level, and all of that offensive flow and juice they had in Game 1 just disappeared. And so I think that there was definitely some real disappointment about how they matched what they knew was going to happen early on. And then to claw back into it the way they did in the fourth was something to take home, but still just a lot of disappointment about that first quarter down. What was it? 34-15. I mean, that was ugly.
I'm happy you talked about the taking home, because I saw Julius Randle clapping it up as he walked out of the arena. So it feels as if Minnesota was pretty satisfied with the way they ended the game on a fight, and the fact that they now get to go home and bring this fight to their territory. Like, what were the vibes in terms of what the Timberwolves are expecting as they transition back to their home court?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they believe fully that they're the better team in this series. We will see how that plays out, but there's a lot of confidence internally in them and in their ability to win this series, especially with what they were able to do in Game 1. But when you look at the bigger picture of it, they've held the Lakers to 94 points and 95 points in these two games. And I don't think that the Wolves believe the Lakers can win 4 games if they're scoring under 100 each one. Yeah. So they feel good about what they've done largely defensively. And now they get to go home to Target Center, and it's going to be Friday night, and it's going to be late, and people are going to be drinking, and they hate the Lakers, and it's going to be tuned up in there. It's going to be just live in that arena. And so they're excited about the prospects of getting back there, because the other part, I think, even though they have been somewhat disappointed at home sometimes, and especially in last year's playoffs. Role players generally play better at home. Right. And they didn't get much of anything from their bench, from Jaden McDaniels, from Mike Conley tonight. And so I think that there's confidence that going back there, as long as their defense holds and then they get their offense and their shot making back into it, they'll be in great shape.
Well, their defense has been really good, but let's talk about their offense, because the Lakers threw a lot of different looks at them in game 2 that they didn't see. A lot of zone. They were more physical. What are the counters that you expect to see out of the Timberwolves outside of just shoot better, right?
Yeah.
Like, we all want to just shoot better, but there's got to be more to it than that.
Yeah, I think that the real disappointing thing offensively was that they only took 25 threes in the game. I mean, they went 21 of 42 in game 1, and they spread the Lakers out, and they moved the ball, and they generated wide open looks, and there just was none of that tonight. And even they shot 5 for 25. They were 38% from the field. So it wasn't a good shot making night, but it also, I don't think, was a good just offensive creation night. Like they really seemed to play into the Lakers' hands and do what they wanted, what the Lakers wanted them to do. A lot of the talk after the game from Anthony Edwards, from Rudy Gobert, was about this kind of pseudo zone look that the Lakers were throwing at them. And I do think it confused them. And I think they had a hard time figuring out, okay, how do we kind of get ourselves moving, get the ball moving, and get good shots against this defense. And that's why you saw a lot of standing around, a lot of isolation, and very few 3-point tries. And so it wasn't a very good execution standpoint for offensively for them. So that when they go home, the ball has to move. They have to move their bodies, and they just have to generate more threes. This is one of the very best 3-point shooting teams in the league. And if you take that away, everything is so much more difficult.
Back on the defensive side of things, I was pretty impressed with the fact that Minnesota was pretty handicapped with a lot of players being in foul trouble very early in this game. I think Naz Reid got his 4th foul in the first half. But is that something that Chris Finch is at all concerned about, the way that his team plays with the physicality it requires to go up against the Lakers, that it could end up backfiring if some of his biggest defenders and best defenders, like a Nickeil Alexander-Walker or Naz Reid or Dante DiVincenzo, for example, end up in foul trouble?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a if you want to do the conspiracy theory point, which every NBA fan loves to do, like you're playing the Lakers in a series. How is the game going to be called? How is the game going to be called? And there you go. I thought tonight, it was called tight both ways, really. I mean, the Wolves took more free throws than the Lakers did. The fouls that were happening were fouls in general. So generally speaking, the Wolves want physicality. Like, they want to play tough. They want to play, they hope for a loose whistle, and they hope to be able to get into guys. And so I was a little bit surprised, I guess, that they seem to be as rattled as they looked, especially early, with that physicality. Usually when a team wants to play that way against them, they're like, all right, let's get in the ring and swing. And instead they looked just a little slower. They looked like they were having a hard time getting their feet where they needed to be before the offensive player was there. And so they were committing all of these fouls. So if you look forward to game 3, ultimately, I do think that they're going to be reiterating a lot of what they have done defensively. Because, look, Luka's shot making is ridiculous. He had an unbelievable game. But by the end of the game, they shot 45% from the field. They shot 20% from 3. The defense from the Wolves was really, really good for those last 3 quarters. And if they can keep that up, and then they don't have the outlier, Naz Reid goes 0 for 5 to start, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker's 1 for 6. Like, if a lot of those things don't happen, this game is either a lot tighter or it probably goes the Wolves' way. And so defensively, as much as Luka can make them look silly every once in a while, in the aggregate, it's been really good through 2 games here.
Well, especially Rudy Gobert. When they tried to isolate and go against him, he holds Luka Doncic to 1 of 4, holds LeBron to 0 of 4. But then the fouls, it hurts not having Naz Reid out there to get the threes up and space the floor. Dante DiVincenzo also had 4 fouls. Those guys combined for 5 3-point attempts. I mean, just to circle back to your main point, looking ahead to game 3, they just got to get shots up outside of that and then hope they make them.
Yeah, I think so. But I also think that, there's been a lot of discussion about the 2 days off between games being advantageous for LeBron. Of course, like that's going to be definitely a plus for him to be able to get a little extra rest. But I think it's a real plus for the Timberwolves as well, because they have an extra day to look at this film, to kind of drill in, to have a real practice, and to kind of go over the things that did not go well. I think, coming off of game 1 when they just completely dominated, I do think that maybe there was a few less teaching points, and they'll have plenty of them. Chris Finch will, between games, 2 and 3 here now, and they have that extra day to build in to say, find some counters, to find some things to do, to devise, a game plan for this increased physicality that the Lakers showed. And I think they'll be a little bit more prepared for it for game 3, and that crowd is going to be on their side and they're going to be tuned up. And so they feel pretty good about that element of it and getting that extra day to prepare and break down and look at what went wrong and how to attack it.
Yeah, you got me really looking forward to this Minnesota crowd. They're tuned up. They're going to be hanging out. They're going to be having drinks. This is going to be a fun time. John Krawczynski, you guys can read him over at The Athletic. Thanks for hanging out and staying up so late for us. That's going to do it for the show, folks. For Shakeia Taylor, for John Krawczynski, for Zena Keita, I'm Dave DuFour, and this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us.